Hello everyone, it's Saturday and that means it is time for me to talk about an episode of an animated superhero TV show. Today I will be talking about the Batman the Animated Series episode Beware of Grey Ghost. If you haven't seen this episode, allow me to quickly recap with naturally some spoilers. A madman calling himself the Mad Bomber is blowing up different buildings in Gotham City. Batman quickly realizes that this is identical to an episode of a show he used to watch when he was a child, called The Grey Ghost. When he tries to investigate, he finds out that the show doesn't even exist anymore because the prints of the episodes were destroyed in a warehouse fire. Batman then goes to Simon Trent, the actor who played the ghost, asking for help. Trent finally gives Batman his own personal copy of the episode that Batman is looking for, and then after an attempt to blow up the library is thwarted, Trent, now dressed in his old costume, agrees to help Batman. Batman discovers that Trent's fingerprints are on one of the remote-controlled cars that were used to blow up the buildings, and Trent realizes that the Mad Bomber is a toy collector who Trent sold some of his merchandise to so that he could pay the rent. The toy collector is apprehended, and then Trent gets a happy ending as the people of Gotham are now happy to celebrate the Grey Ghost and his old TV show. Much like my experience with the Firefly episode Trash, I don't know how much I'm going to have to say about this episode. It's simply fantastic. In a brilliant move of casting, Adam West plays Simon Trent, an actor who once played a superhero on television and is now trying to escape typecasting, which has nearly ruined his life. Now, I don't want to read too much into this. I don't claim to know much about Adam West. I don't know if he regrets taking on the role of Batman in the 1960s, or if he thinks that it's ruined his career. I suspect that if he did feel that way, he wouldn't have come to do a voice on Batman the Animated Series. But still, Adam West is known mostly for his turn as Bruce Wayne in Batman in the 1960s. So it's a nice homage to him where he is now playing an actor mostly known for playing a costumed crime fighter in the prime of his life. But Adam West's voice and presence in this episode is not what makes this a brilliant episode. It's a brilliant addition to what is already a really touching installment in this series, in my humble. The idea that Bruce was inspired by a television show when he became Batman is a really great idea, and it humanizes Bruce in ways that you don't often get to see in the Batman world. It does become a little problematic later on in the DC animated universe, though. Here, we're led to believe that Bruce was inspired to basically copy everything about the Grey Ghost in his attempt to wipe out corruption in Gotham City. But then when you get to the animated Mask of the Phantasm movie, we see that Bruce was inspired by a fair that was about what the future might be like. While I'm not a huge fan of Mask of the Phantasm at all, I don't really mind the idea that he was inspired by a Welcome to the World of Tomorrow fair in creating the concept of Batman. But that and the inspired by the Grey Ghost thing are two concepts that do not fit together at all. In fact, they contradict each other completely. I won't say much more here, except that I'm curious how other people reconcile these two pieces of the DC animated universe. After all, I know everyone else in the multiverse likes Mask of the Phantasm except for me, and I know many people like Beware the Grey Ghost enough to list it as one of their top 10 episodes of this series. So do they just ignore the fact that these two pieces of this gigantic puzzle blatantly contradict each other, or do they not see this whole world as a puzzle like I do? Oh well, moving on. The relationship that we get between Batman and the Grey Ghost is very touching, and I'm the kind of guy who beats my emotions back with a titanium bat, so that's a pretty big deal for me. The relationship here doesn't feel forced either. It feels very real that Trent would freak out at Batman following him like he does, and would eventually reject yet someone else, even if it is Batman, hero-worshipping him for a role that everyone knows him for. And yet he isn't so venomous in his rejection of Batman that it feels false when he finally does help Batman. If I did have a criticism about this episode, I would say that it really feels convenient at times. When Batman is trying to ask Trent for help, it just so happens that they are right next to the building that the Mad Bomber is about to blow up next. Or how, out of the 15 or 20 cars that are being used as explosive devices, Batman just happens to pick up the one that is a decoy and has Trent's fingerprints on them. Unless all of the cars that were being used belonged to Trent at one point, which I find very unlikely. And speaking of the Mad Bomber, I get his motivation. He's a little unhinged, he likes collecting toys, and he doesn't have the money to keep up his habit, so he follows the plot from an episode of The Grey Ghost, which nobody else would remember unless they watched the show religiously when they were younger, to get more money so that he can buy more toys. But where I stop understanding this guy is where he tells the city which buildings he will blow up next, just like the Mad Bomber in the Grey Ghost TV show. I know that this is so that Batman and the Grey Ghost can have an easier time finding him, but is this guy even interested in getting the money if he's just going to do something that will certainly result in him getting caught? Anyway, that's a relatively minor complaint, and it isn't enough of a problem to bring the episode down for me. Plus, if I'm going to mention that Adam West played the Grey Ghost, I might as well mention that Bruce Timm plays the Toy Collector. And the Toy Collector even resembles Bruce Timm. Like, a lot. I won't read as much into this as I did with the Adam West thing. I think it's mostly just funny. And I suspect the people making this episode thought it was funny also. Overall, I think this episode is really great. Maybe one of my favorites of the series so far. It's unfortunate that it doesn't fit very well into the DC animated universe at large. Anyway, that's about all I have for this video. If you are interested in more reviews like this, come back next Saturday for my thoughts on the 2-part Season 1 finale of the Legion of Superheroes cartoon. And then the following Saturday, I'll be talking about another episode of this series. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to come back throughout the week for more videos from this moi. Until then, I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.